from around the world there.
In Denmark, opposite to that, you just go online and in 15 minutes.
And we do not know how to live in this country.
The more everything has its right place.
Some differences, some peculiarities.
If you go to Portugal, people are a bit more relaxed.
Please tell us, where have you been?
In a Greek city called Larissa.
Have you ever interviewed a celebrity?
Rihanna, Beyonce, Shakira.
A good international integration.
Yeah, hopefully, yes. That's the perspective.
Hola, today is a new day and we are upcoming with really great news. We continue to talk with people from around the world, and today is a new part of podcast Международим. My name is Sabina and I'm really happy to introduce you to our new guest, Joao, person who has experience in various fields, from gastronomy to sound directing. He has really interesting hobbies connected with sound, with video editing, etc. He's a big fan of old classics. For example, he inspired by Dostoevsky and movie masterpieces of Tarkovsky. So, we greet you, Joao. Hello.
Hi.
Yeah.
That was a nice introduction. Thank you so much for referring so many nice things from my interests and life.
Okay, thank you very much. So we begin with an interesting question about life in Portugal. Because
Yes.
now I'm sitting in Russia and our viewers from around the world there, and we do not know how to live in this country. So please let us know, as a citizen, as a person who was born there, what are maybe some differences, some peculiarities about living in Portugal?
Hey, that's a very big question.
Yeah.
I'll try my best.
Okay.
So, as a person who lived in Portugal for 20-something years, I've been out of Portugal for almost 4 years now. So I just didn't understand from the question the difference between Portugal and the rest of the world, Denmark, Russia.
Maybe Denmark, because now you live in Denmark. So what's the differences in these countries? Yeah.
The common saying that the Danes are not as warm as Portuguese or even a Spanish, so like a more South European. In terms of way of approaching you or smiling at you or looking at you, but I find that Danes are quite nice. You really can't say that they are not warm when they actually are. Now, if you go to Portugal, you'll see that maybe people are a bit more relaxed. Mental wise, about what's to come and what's to be done, and then probably a bit less disciplined or organized mentally and also in society, and that can be seen, as you mentioned, a tax system or any system, social system here in Denmark, that everything just works. Everything is very bureaucratic, but everything is written down. There's guidelines for every situation, at least from what I'm aware of, from what I've experienced, and from the people who I'm acquainted with have experienced as well. I might be wrong, but it's a clear difference when you come from a country where you might spend a whole day in a building going from counter to counter just to solve a very simple situation. Then in Denmark, opposite to that, you just go online and in 15 minutes you get your issue done. If you have a problem, you call a line, they help you. and you are set instead of spending a whole day, for example, for a finance, a tax, social security, whatever thing that you have to take care of. The Danes are quite fun. If you go out in Denmark, you will see that in person. And the Portuguese, of course, as well. But I think maybe like fun and like seriousness gets blended more in Portugal, and Denmark things are more, everything has its right place to be. My impression, if anyone Dane is listening to what I'm saying and disagree, you are probably right. Just my impression as an expat.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What about the job? It's simple to find job in Denmark, comparable maybe with Portugal?
Yes, I would say so. For example, when I was a teen, going to high school, 15 years old, 16, 17, I wanted to have my job, to be a bit more independent. And that's not something that you have in Portugal. Maybe you have like someone in your family has a business and then you work there, but even your payment is like it's on the side. So it's not, you are not hiring underages. It's not common. It's not a common thing. You don't have people in high school having a part-time job, like a proper part-time job in a store, like a clothes store, a bakery, a cafe, something like that. While here, that's very common. I go to the supermarket and it's teens and the stores as well, like retail shops, in the shopping mall. They even have these programs for like 16 years olds to start building careers for teenagers to start building their careers from that age. So job-wise, totally different. Portugal from Denmark. Now, as a Portuguese moving here, Denmark has not Denmark, all of it, but Copenhagen, where I am, where everyone speaks English. So that makes it easier. And there's a lot of job offer. And I believe because the Danes, they have access to education, they have much easier access and support from the state to education. So you have more people in specialized fields. So I think that leaves a lot of so the restaurant work, retail shops, all these places don't get so much time. So if you go to Copenhagen, if you go to a restaurant, if you go inside the kitchens there, unless it's a very specific Danish restaurant, mostly you're gonna find Middle Eastern people, Europeans, mostly students, because there's this agreement with the state for the European where you, as a student of a Danish education facility, you can work as a part-timer and have access to something they call SU, which is what the Danish students get. It's a monetary support from state, and you as an European, you also have a right from that if you work a certain amount of hours. And therefore, these places, kitchens and so on, retail stores, so they are always on the lookout for people. So it's very easy to arrive here and find a job. And just to finalize, I know a case of a person who came here, Portuguese, with the same kind of documentation, everything as me, similar age, all that. And in one day, he found a job. He got employed in one day at a cafe in the center, like doing waitering, knowing zero Danish. In 2018, this was pre-pandemic, just to localize when this situation happened. But it's common and it's easy to find,
We move to the next question about education. So what you can say about educational system in Portugal and in Denmark? What are the differences there? And maybe some peculiarities? Maybe in the universities, more humanitarian directions in Portugal.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I can focus, and I can only speak about university because I don't know really Danes here who are attending high school or telling about that or any schooling before that. So I can compare really. I really like the kindergartens here. I think I really can talk about it more than this, but from what I see on the street, I see a lot of groups of kids walking around the day in the city, visiting places, going to parks. Also, Copenhagen allows that because it has a lot of green areas. And I find the kindergarten or the first 4 years of school, first to fourth grade, to seem like really amazing, the education system, like seeing this from outside. But the university which I attended in Portugal, I did a bachelor's in Portugal, I did a master's here in Copenhagen. And from what I could see, Portugal, you have still a more traditional approach to education in the universities, where you have to study hard to answer the questions in the exams. You don't know which questions might come out, so you have to study everything and be prepared. And this is, we are talking more maybe about like engineering degrees, science degrees, so these types of degrees. And for example, for me in Portugal, my bachelor was in arts, but here it was in engineering. But most of my colleagues, they come from engineering bachelors, and that's also what the Spanish and the Italian colleagues told me. And also in Portugal, I knew people attending university in all different type of courses, disciplines, and so people in engineering, it's also like that. So you really have to study for all these exams. Like it's you get really busy and it's really stressful. While here, while in here you go to an exam that lasts 15 minutes and you are made oral questions. You have your teacher, you have another person next to them, usually like an assistant professor or a professor from another discipline, or a PhD researcher, something like that within the field. And these people are there. They make you a couple of questions, you answer them. Usually it's project based, so you come with a project already that you already delivered 2 weeks in advance so that they can check. And then you just use your project as the basis of your exam. This is where you get your final grade. The scaling system is also different. It's not this 0 to 20 where you pass above 10. This is Portugal, and Denmark is the 7 scale system. You either get a -2, a 0, a 2, a 4, a 7, or a 12. And you pass from the moment you have a 2. So then you just have 4 different grades, a 2, a 4, a 7, and a 12. A 7 is quite nice, and 12 is very good, is excellent. There's also 10. Yeah, the 10 is very good. Yeah, there's the 7.
10 is the
that's
best. 10 points.
yeah, and 12 is the best. You really excelled yourself there. So they have this system. This can be complicated if you want to go to another education afterwards, because you have to do the conversion, and you have to find out how that's done.
So they're much different. Portugal education and Denmark education. So in Denmark you feel more freedom, like.
No, of course, yes, of course. It's the difference between I do the exam that everyone in my class is doing. From I do my own project. Of course, it is assisted, and of course there's rules to it. But my exam is personalized to the project I made. So it's totally different. You have much more freedom. Yeah.
Now I want to talk with you about travels, about adventures. Please tell us, where have you been, and which country you liked more? Maybe Portugal, only in Portugal is the best nature for you, or in other country. Can you compare?
Of course, yeah. I've done traveling in the summer of 2017 for a month or so. I spent 2 weeks in a town, a small town in a city, in a Greek city called Larissa, and the small town name I already forgot.
It's like you said Larissa. It's like a Russian common name there, Larissa.
Yeah. We also have Larissas in Portugal. It's not such a common name these days. Yeah, Larissa, like the it's a person name, right?
It's a person name too in Portugal, or not, or it's just a word?
Yeah. Not so common nowadays, but it used to be a common name.
Oh, yeah, it's interesting.
Like older people will be called Larissa, woman.
Yeah.
Old woman. Yeah, not so common these days. And probably that's why I remember, and I don't remember, for example, the small town I was in. It was one of those programs you find online. Now I don't remember the names of them because it was some time ago, but it's something like Work Away. It was a farming program, so we just volunteered. It was me and another friend. We just volunteered for 2 weeks to take care of this small property that had built constructions made out of clay and straw. So they would build actually, 1 division houses, 2 division houses, and even one time they put us on a van and we went to help them build like a 2-floor house, thing. So it was very interesting to learn these things back then. We also would cook every day.
Your trip was connected with job.
It was a volunteering, farming volunteering. So we also had a lot of free time, and we also went to the beach and to the mountain. We spent a weekend in the mountain too. Like no one living. There was only one person living in this mountain. He owned like maybe 300 sheep. I have some nice videos where you just have like the camera filming a road, and for 10 minutes you just see sheep passing. And the place we were staying, that was half for the owner of the place. It was half a volunteering, receiving volunteerings, but he was also doing some tourism, proper tourism there. So these houses he would build were targeted for tourism. But in our case, we were in the volunteering program. We also had access to some small farming around, and this is what we would use every day to cook our meals. There were around 6 volunteers there, so every day someone different would cook. And the people there were one Austrian guy, me, my friend, 2 Portuguese, and 3 Spanish people. So it was quite adventurous in the sense that we took rides from random people, pickup drivers in the mountains. We were in the middle of the mountain, just having a lot of sheep passing by us, which can be uncomfortable at the beginning because they have their horns, right? And it's male sheep, so goat, not a sheep, a goat. So imagine 300 goats. You just, can feel a bit nervous that, they might see you as a threat and attack you. So, and I don't know. I think that's quite adventurous.
It was really interesting and a really good chance for meet new people and for have adventure. Really interesting, wild adventure because you was in the mountains.
Yes, exactly. Slept one night at the beach as well. The beach is very nice in Greece. The water is very clear. You can see to the bottom of it. They just have this strange habit. I don't know how you do it in Russia. If beaches even, I think people do it somewhere in it. But in Portugal, we don't do this. We go to the beach and it's quiet. But in Greece, they play music from loudspeakers spread throughout the whole beach. So you are in the beach and you are listening to 2000 summer hits the whole day.
Wow.
Which it's a bit strange, but a beach is a big thing there. Like I could really feel when it was a beach day in town. I would go to Larissa to get the bus, and if it was a a day off, a holiday, a Sunday. Like the city was desert and the shops were all closed, and then you go to the beach and you see like a huge, enormous crowd, like cars parked everywhere. So yeah, that's the Greek summer, I guess, for you.
If you will be on Russian beaches, you will be really shocked because there are too much music, too many people, and there is so noisy. Kind of, it's not about relax. So if you want to relax, I hope that you can go to Portugal beach, but not to Russians.
Yeah, right, and Greece as well. Although the weather is quite nice, I don't know in the beachy areas of Russia where you can get nice weather in a whole year. Yeah.
So the next question will be about your hobby, because you have a really interesting hobby. You have your own radio community. Have you ever interviewed a celebrity from the music area? And maybe you have plans to have interview or dream to have interview with a celebrity or music producer or musician?
Yeah, definitely. Rihanna, Beyonce, Shakira, all those names. I'm really looking forward to have them with me on a call like this, into being interviewed. That's my dream. It's quite nice to do the radio online because it's a way to expose some uprising names, people who are trying to get more noticed. You also build a relationship from there. And I don't know, for me, I just like to speak. I feel like my conversations with people are usually interviews anyway. Like I take a cab ride and I'm like sort of interviewing the cab rider. I usually know his family members. Does he live alone? He has family. How long has he been living in a country? Is he a foreigner? Where has he worked for the past 10 years? So these sort of things I just like to ask people. So it's also nice to be here today on the other side. And so yeah, those are my dreams. I haven't interviewed anyone in my radio projects very famous, but in my professional field, in the beginning of it, I did some TV interviews, and I interviewed, you can check, Selmo Ralph. He is a very big name for African music. He does kuduro, which is a very popular style of African music. He sings romantic lyrics. It's very nice music to listen in the summer when you are having festivities in your town. And because Portugal, it has big ties with African countries, Angola, Cape Verde, Guinea-Bissau, Mozambique. And Samuel Half is Angolan, so he was playing for years and years in Portugal in summer festivities, like a town festivity. You have 2-3 days of concerts, and he would be a very common musician to have there. So I was very happy back then. This was like 10 years ago that I did this, but still to this day I still brag about the fact that I did an interview with Anselmo Ralph. You don't know him, but he is very big. If you go to YouTube and you check this person, he is very, very big musician.
I will know it. So I show this picture of him, of course, and play the music. His music. Yeah, thanks. So did you work on radio or on internet platform or on site or on channel? How it organized?
Yeah, so right now, like my radio platform, right? It's very simple. I just do a call. Usually I use Discord, and I just normally use audio because it's radio, so we're just dealing with sound. And I just make the interview, and then I do some editing afterwards, remove some parts that I don't think are so nice, remove those sounds. Because when you are dealing only with sound, that's really annoying. At least I think I used to listen to podcasts a lot, and I didn't like that. When it's video, it's sort of okay. You have more info in front of you, but then so that's pretty much how it works. I just approach a person. You want to be interviewed. I make a script with the questions, and then the person is ready to answer them. And I always play music in the between because I'm always interviewing musicians, or I'm interviewing someone who likes a lot of movies or like series, anime. And then in the middle, instead of playing their songs because they are not musicians, we play songs from the series, from the movies, or from the animes that we are talking about. But this works. I don't have a website yet. It's just I'm using a platform called Mixcloud, and that's just where I do the uploading of things. But professionally, I've never worked in radio. I've worked on television as a freelance a few times. But not radio, not yet. But that's where I'm trying to get to, radio music business, like professionally. Since right now I'm working in tech as a audiovisual engineer.
So we are colleagues because you have interviews with people. I'm too doing stuff, but for me it's kind of maybe not serious now for the moment because I'm student. I'm on the first course in the university, but I hope in the future I will become a professional interviewer. And
I'm sure you will.
Thank you. And you said that in your project there are variety of people who likes anime and something. Maybe I can be a guest. Because
why?
And you can ask me question.
Of course. But what are you into? From these topics, is it the films, the anime, the TV series?
I could talk on every topic.
Amazing! Wow. Okay, amazing. What are you studying, by the way?
I'm a teacher. I'm teacher of English and culture there in Russia, in my city, and I'm working as a tutor, as an English tutor for children and for students. Yes. And my hobby is a YouTube channel, and I want to be a famous TV presenter.
You are getting there. I'll have you one day, and then it will be nice because it will be one of those cases where then I have interviewed you before you were famous. So when you become famous, then my channel becomes very famous because I have an interview of you there.
So
like an investment. Excuse me?
A good international integration.
Hopefully, yes. That's the perspective.
So, as about inspiration, you told me before the podcast that you fond of books Stanislav Lemm, and you like Dostoevsky and films of director Tarkovsky. And how it that you from all the country, you from all the culture, how you loved this?
Okay. Okay, I really want to answer this. So, for example, for Stanislav Lem, it came from movies because some of his books have inspired. So, for example, let's say, he has a book that then
films based on books.
Films based on books, exactly. But there was this movie that I watched in 2013 or so called The Congress, and it was a movie from Lebanon. And at this time I was starting to get a bit more serious about watching movies. I was not just watching top 100 IMDb. I was starting to get a bit more serious, to search a bit more movies, and I ended up on this movie. This is a movie from Lebanon, the director. And then I watched the movie, and it was about the Congress from Stanislav Lemm. So it is an adaptation of that. I really liked it at the time, and then I ended up also reading the book. I also read Solaris, but because also I saw Solaris from Tarkovsky. For Tarkovsky, I found him because I did conservatory film school in Lisbon, and when I applied, I was not the movies that I knew were not the movies that the conservatory, presents to us, but they presented Tarkovsky, and once you start being a bit of a film buff, you start liking the old artsy films, then you know Tarkovsky, and because he is like a very famous name. He is, he's like, I don't know, Kandinsky or, Pollock. If you are into painting, if you are into cinema, then you know Tarkovsky. So I really like his movies. The same way for Dostoevsky. I think it's just the way that Dostoevsky, of course, the books. I think it's something to do with before I talked about Portuguese being warm, so maybe a feeling of coldness, of an existential dread feeling. At least in Tarkovsky, I don't watch his movies anymore these days. I don't identify so much, but back in the time, maybe because I was in my early 20s, 21, and I also had more existential dread going on inside, so I would really connect with the movies and watch them again, and really think about them and consume them. And then I guess that also led me to be interested in Dostoevsky, and Dostoevsky, it was a bit more about morals. And so I just found all these topics to be good for my own, upbringing. Because after school, then you just have to keep educating yourself. Even if you are in the university, it's just a specialized education. So I just found that on books and movies for a while, for a few years, during the years I was in university and a bit after. And I just found it nice to mention these names because they are Russian. It's not that these are my most lovable, but are part of my most lovable. There are many other ones. I just found it nice to mention it here since they are Russian. So big shout out Dostoevsky, Tarkovsky, and Stanislav Lem. They are all dead.
Your favorites, but Stanislav Lem is from Poland.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry for the mix-up. I really thought he was Russian.
It's near with Russia, and in Russia, in USSR, in those times, people are really fond of Stanislav Lem, so it's normal. It's like a part of Russian culture, I think. It could be.
I gotcha.
Yes. And what's the name of the book that you read of Dostoevsky?
So you have Crime and Punishment. It was not that one, and it was not the Karamazov brothers. These books are really big. I got really intimidated. I read one, Humiliated and Offended.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one I read. I really like it. I read it in the end of summer between my first and second year to the uni. I read it in maybe 3 days, and it really stayed with me. It was very different. The characters, the main character, this thing about the morals, how they are so serious about the morals. It's like a totally different universe, like a parallel alternative universe where morals are everything. It's because it's in a different culture and in a different time. So I still want to read Crime and Punishment, but you just want to read different things. Maybe you can read 2 or 3 books instead of reading one of those because they are quite extensive, hundreds of pages to read. So
you read in
but that's the one.
English or in Portuguese?
I think it was a Portuguese traduction. It was a very old book. It was It was falling apart. I had to glue it a couple times. I don't have that book anymore. I wonder where I left it.
Oh.
But it's fine now. Books are supposed to be like that. In Portuguese. I'm quite sure it was in Portuguese. I read it, yeah.
So when I began to start to read Crime and Punishment, for me it was really hard because it's kind of depressive atmosphere pressed on me. I don't know, I like a positive person. I don't like this. It's for me, it's hard because it's a classic maybe. Classic, but I like classics, but this was psychological. Has a psychological podtext, and for me it was hard, really.
Okay, fair enough. But then you enjoyed it.
Maybe for you it will be simple because you saw movies of Tarkovsky. It's really hard to understand.
Yeah, there are some things in Tarkovsky movies that I still don't understand, to be honest, of course. There are something, I can read about it and try to convince myself that I got it, but there are things here and there, because it's not like I've read so much as what he has read, and I feel like his movies, he's really deep inside his own things, so I don't think there's a point, a way to, you can understand what's going on, of course, because he moves in between, oniric, so dreams, real, and all that, but what's the point he's trying to make, or something like that. And did you enjoy the Crime and Punishment in the end, when you finished it, did you enjoy it?
I want to say that I didn't finish it yet. I started to read, but then I just do not want to continue and read a short description of the book. I know what there was going on and about character and about the story of the character, but it's not much for me, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so move to next question. So to the next part of our podcast, we talked about Russian art and Russian culture and some of Poland, about great people, geniuses. So you have favorite from your homeland, from Portugal, maybe musicians or maybe from politics.
Yes. Yes. There are a couple Portuguese people that I quite appreciate their work. From writing literature, you have Fernando Pessoa, and you have Camões. These are the most important names from Portuguese literature. Camões, he wrote about the period where the Portuguese were sailing and going to India, Brazil, to Africa. He writes them in a poem style, sort of, and it's a very classic style, and glorifies these events. And it's a very important Portuguese text. Then you have Fernando Pessoa, which is more close to us because he lived 100 years ago, and we can more easily identify with Lisbon back then. There are still many streets that are the same, many buildings, and he was more existential, let's say, so more modern as well.
What's your favorite from them?
I like more Pessoa because it's more modern, while the other one, although it's very important, because it's one of those works that if it didn't exist, then probably a lot of other nice things, even Fernando Pessoa, maybe wouldn't have existed. So you have to, give praise for that. But of course, I would have to read it for school, and I would not enjoy it so much. while Fernando Pessoa, I would have to read it for school as well, but I kept reading it on my own because I liked it. And he is more modern, so probably that's why it's also easier for you to like it than the other guy. And for music, I don't even want to start because I couldn't make justice to say only one name, and I don't want to start saying like very, specific names or anything. I don't think, but you should listen to Portuguese fado. Amalia Rodriguez. Amalia Rodriguez. She's the mother of fado, traditional Portuguese music about nostalgia, feelings of missing one another, love, not fulfilled or matched, and sad guitar riffs with very nice voices singing in very cozy, usually like small cafe, bar atmosphere, like candle, dark wine. So this
dancing or not?
No. You are probably standing with an arm like this, maybe like this, sipping your glass of wine while listening to this. It's slow music and it has like a very sad feeling surrounding it, like sour.
I heard that fado is a window into the Portuguese people's soul. It's about lonely, about love, yeah?
It's pretty much being emo, but back in the day. So you will just that's how those feelings were conveyed in music back then in the Portuguese culture, was through these Portuguese guitar melancholic riffs and also this sad feeling in the voice of who was singing. This is, for example, when Portugal was going to war. There was a colonial war with these African countries I mentioned before, and when the men were going to the war, they would go in the ships to the sea, and maybe the woman would be there singing fado songs, or someone would be there singing fado songs just to, grasp the vibe of the moment as a farewell. So we Portuguese, although we are very warm, of course, like every human being, we have that side in our hearts, and culturally that's how in music we express it.
Thank you. Let's go to the next topic about Portuguese mentality. Yes, you told some things about that, but can you describe Portuguese people in like maybe 1 or 3 words? They are maybe hospitable or funny or etc.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, they are a hospital, for sure. We have great hospitality for our guests in country. We can be quite grumpy and complaining, but that's more amongst ourselves. And I guess
maybe you can tell about yourself, because you Portugal and maybe
I'm not in my country right now for a while. It's been a while, so maybe I'm not the best example, but no, a Portuguese person, it's someone who will, even though he has struggles to deal with in the everyday life, will still put on a smile and complain, but in not direct ways, and I think I think Portuguese people are quite humble and smart people, and you should definitely experience at least Portugal for the hospitality, because you're going to be very well treated by if you come as a guest. Definitely.
Yes, it's one of my dreams.
I'm sure you'll find yourself in there.
So, how it's about traditions? Because I heard that while the celebration of New Year, Portuguese people ate 12 grapes. Oh, it's going on.
Yeah,
It's
they
true.
do that.
And maybe you can tell more about traditions that you know.
Yeah, of course, yes. Yeah, good one. Yeah, that's the 12 grapes. So it's actually dry grapes. It's not grapes themselves. It's the dry grape thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, those ones. So it's 12 because it's the 12 in the night, 12 midnight, and maybe because there's 12 months in the year. So it's just for good luck. What else do we do? We have Easter. So in Easter we have usually for food, what do we have in Easter?
Eggs.
Oh my, eggs. Yeah, I mean, there's the eggs thing, of course, yeah, to give the eggs, and we do that. We even sometimes put the eggs, we do some sort of pastry where you have the eggs inside the pastry somehow. Maybe you make some grids, of pastry, and underneath you have an egg. And for Christmas we have the codfish, and for summer we have some related to church. We have saints, right? So you have some saints festivities, and it's common in the summer to eat sardines, these very small fish. People just put the grill on the street and they are just grilling them and having them, drinking small bottles of beer throughout the day. You have festivity, you have the accordion playing,
So
or nowadays
there are dances.
there are you have dancers, you have kids groups dancing, you have male female dancing, you have more you woman dancing, you have guy just with his big keyboard playing the whole night all the popular songs, and everyone is very happy in those nights.
DJ.
Yeah, DJ, manual DJ
So fun.
playing the songs the whole night.
Maybe something about appreciating, or something. Gestures.
Yeah, I mean,
Positive.
Positive, yeah, we have the thumbs up, and we also like to tap each other, not myself, but of course the other person, well done, good job, tap someone on the shoulder. Yeah, we are, and we are quite. That's also a big difference between Portuguese and Danish, and this also has to be with the warmness, because we kiss one another it's normal. Guy kisses guy, in the cheek, in the face, because they are happy. Lips, it's more a family thing. It's more like a father-son thing, a father-daughter thing, father-son thing. But it's just if it's a moment of big ecstasy, then you might kiss someone. We are more kissing, we are more touching. We touch. It's something that you have to, at the beginning, be a bit self-aware. Don't if you get excited in the conversation, don't start touching the other person. So yeah, exactly. Or just something, touch the hand or something, just to transmit the enthusiasm. And yeah, here they don't really do that. So yeah, that's mostly what people mean by the warmness, coldness thing. I think it has more to do with the physical interaction. It's very important need for many people, I think. And here with the Danes, you get a hug, if they want to, to greet you, besides just having a handshake. Otherwise, you just do a handshake, and and a very, subtle one. Because even in Portugal, if you handshake, you really have to grab that hand well to be a proper handshake or something like that. So yeah, that's quite a steep cultural difference, but it's it's nothing from everything that yeah, you have to, in a person, in a culture, it's just a small detail.
So there is a question more for our viewers, for girls. Portuguese men are romantic. Maybe some serenades, some music, poetry or something.
Okay, so for this one, I'm gonna abstain from answering because I think romance, it's something that can be quite different from person to person, and yeah.
But in a culture, it's common like serenades before the window or something.
I mean, yeah, if you are a very lucky girl and you like that, and if you are very lucky, then you might get something like that, yeah. To have like it could be the both ways. It could be like your lover, he goes to your window, or it doesn't have to be like that. It could be just be in a public place. Usually, the idea of the serenade is that it is witnessed by others. It's something that you do. It's like a demonstration of love that it's to be witnessed by the public.
People not appreciate it in Portugal.
No, they do. I mean, if you see a serenade on the street, you're gonna stop. You're gonna listen to it. When the guy finishes playing, like everyone is gonna clap because it's love and it's beautiful. That this type of old-fashioned romantic gestures like that. So the serenade is, yeah, it's like an old-fashioned romantic guy to girl. Symbolic, romantic gesture. But Lisbon is very nice. Lisbon and Portugal in general as a country, but of course if you go to countryside, you have to deal maybe with more old-fashioned mentality. But if you go to Lisbon, if you go to Porto, these are places where the mentality is
people there.
Yeah, and the mentalities are a bit more. Not so old-fashioned, so more straight, more forward thinking, modern. Exactly, thanks. These sort of things and the demonstration of them in public, it's acceptable these days. Not and so it's a very safe place to express yourself romantically in many ways, not only the old-fashioned ones.
So, whole the podcast, we have a kind of troubles to talk in English. Let's talk on our native language. So, you will teach me Portuguese, and I will teach you Russian. So, let's start with simple. Привет. You know it.
Привет.
Привет. Yes, it's hello. It's hello. It's greeting. And how it sounds on Portuguese?
Hola.
Hola.
You said
Hola.
it in the hola. Yeah. You started with it.
Как дела?
Как дела?
How are you? How you doing?
Yes. Como estás?
Como estás?
Yes. How are you?
What pleasant weather. Какая прекрасная погода.
That's a nice
That's nice, but
phrase.
it's hard.
You said it very well yourself. Como está o tempo?
Como está o tempo?
How's the weather?
How will be weather on the word weather?
Tempo.
Tempo.
Tempo is tempo, like the music tempo is this and that. So tempo, it goes both ways in Portuguese. It goes to refer to time, and it also to refer the weather.
And how you can talk with your friends. In English there is a mate, dude, bro, and how you can how it sounds in Portuguese.
Good question. It's mano. It's like a short of brother. It's like calling someone little bro. Mano. And but we nowadays we are much more globalized. And so we use bro, we use dude, homey,
Yeah.
all these things.
It's
you?
like mixed cultures.
Yeah, of course. We use English much more nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah, so in Russia it will be bratan. Yes, it's too bro. It could be, but bratan, bratishka. So brat is the word brother, brat.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's the same thing. You just change it a little
Change
bit.
end of the words. Yes, it's like
Yeah, to become a slang, and it becomes slang. So,
yes, to become a slang. Yeah. But I think that among Russian teenagers and not only Russians from around the world, we use English words in our speech. Like I talk whole in Russia and there some English word.
yeah.
Maybe.
I think it's becoming common in nowadays to do that because we are exposed to so much English that you cannot just sometimes it just makes it's easier to say what you want to say, or you just adopt certain words. For example, even in Portuguese, the word when you want to say to someone that you love them, like romantically, the Portuguese word would be amo-te. And for some reason, I've heard people already saying that nowadays it starts feeling lame to use these words. It's like too old-fashioned. So people just say "I love you" to each other in English.
It's like
even though they are Portuguese.
It's like honey or sweetie. It's equivalent of these words.
No, it's just like I love you
It's just like I love you in English.
It's just because you say it in Portuguese, and I've already heard people saying that they don't like to say it because it's cringe, because it feels too old-fashioned. So people just so in Portuguese you say it in English. You say "I love you" like because it doesn't sound so bad, or you don't feel embarrassed of yourself.
You want to be a modern. You want to be a common. Not be old-fashioned and all this.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's the reason. Yes.
So in Russian it will be "Я люблю тебя."
Can you say it one more time?
Я люблю тебя. I love you. Thanks. So after this linguistic trip, we're going to the real trip, and I want to know the top 5, maybe 3, or what you remember from Portugal, attractions this people should to see there.
Okay, yeah, we should go to Sintra, old castles, gardens, nice historical place, also nice mountain and nice beach. Sintra, Sintra. Yeah, you should go to the countryside in Portugal as well, just to experience the countryside. So, for example, Serra da Estrela, it's a mountain region as well, and it's very famous because it snows there in the winter, the only place where it usually snows. And you have populations like that have been there for hundreds of years, so you get more of a folkloric feel of the country. So Serra da Estrela, it's you can just Google Portuguese biggest mountain, Serra da Estrela. And maybe go to Algarve for the beach and have a nice, resort type vacationing with a lot of British, a lot of Scandinavic, a lot of people who just want to relax and just
Touristic
relax
place.
yeah, and just relax there in the whole coast of beach. If you can get yourself a ride to drive and do the different beaches every day. That's also a nice thing to do. There are some nice beaches. There are some that you can take a boat and maybe check, like some small island, or like some beach that is not accessible by foot, but if you take a boat you can go access it. So there's a lot of beaches in the coast in Algarve. So if you just go down and you just explore that area in the summer, I'm sure you'll be very much amazed. So Sintra, Serra da Estrela, and Algarve.
So the top of 3. And my favorite topic, can we talk about national kitchen? Maybe what dishes you know? Maybe what products are the most popular to use in Portugal?
Yeah, it's the olive oil, it's the garlic, and it's the onion, salt, and pepper. So if you are doing a Portuguese dish, these 5 are fundamental. You are always going to use them. The garlic and the onion chopped with the oil on the pan. Whatever are you going to do, that's how you start it. That's like the beginning of it. If you're going to put a steak on it, if you're going to put fish on it, if you're going to put vegetables on it, you always have oil, onion, and the garlic. And then for spicing the thing up, you might put other things, but you're always going to put salt and pepper. So this is the basis of it. But then we are very big with fish and with meat. We have a lot of it. We have a lot of different fish. We also get a lot of different meat. And we have some dishes. The most traditional ones concern codfish. And for meat, there's the cozido à portuguesa, which is something like Portuguese. I can't even translate it, but it's just a dish that has 4 or 5 different type of meats in it, and it's very common to find. If you go to Portugal, you just go to some cafe, restaurant. Usually they have this, like 2 or 3 times a week. They have this plate available. But I used to be on a vegetarian diet for almost 10 years, so I don't experience. I do eat meat now, but for a long time I didn't have an experience with the gastronomy, or I was not so much interested. So I can only really touch it on the surface. Since I still keep a lot of my vegetarian, cuisine habits even to this day, so I can really get really detailed because I do have some Portuguese acquaintances here in Denmark, and they really know Portuguese cuisine. Maybe you should interview one of them next.
Okay.
If you want to know more about kitchen, because they actually, they learn from their parents, from their grandparents, from their aunt, from my family. Yeah, it passes on to you. But I was not so interested due to my vegetarian diet. I was not interested in having these older people in my family passing me down this. There was one or two people who could have the interest to do that, but I didn't because of my diet at the time. So salt, pepper, garlic, and olive oil is the base for doing any Portuguese dish.
Yeah, I remember. So it's the ending of our podcast. I want to say thank you very much for your time,
Thank you.
for your questions.
Thank you so much.
And for all
Likewise.
stuff. And
Likewise.
we have a small tradition. Send greetings who guessed the country of guest from the podcast. Yeah, and their names Sasha and Eric. Please, can you send just привет or hello or hola, Sasha, Eric?
Breivik, Sasha, and Eric, I hope you are having a nice day.
Thank you very much. So thank you. I was really pleasant to know about you, about your culture, about your native country. So thanks.
Thank you. It was very nice to chat with you for this moment bit. Yeah.
So thanks. Bye.
No problem. Bye bye. Have a good one.